Welcome to Chapter 1, Section 4, String Basics. In this section, we'll explore how Python handles strings in ways directly useful for cybersecurity tasks. By the end, you'll know how to measure the size of suspicious payloads, build dynamic alerts, use f-strings to clean up scripts, and store full reports as multi-line strings. Python has a few syntax rules worth remembering. Variables are case sensitive, indentation is critical, and unlike C, Python doesn't need semicolons. We'll also look at naming rules, string quoting, and how consistent spacing keeps your code readable and functional. Strings can be written either in single or double quotes. If you need to include one type of quote inside the string, just switch to the other. This comes up often in logging and alert messages where you might have usernames, paths, or quoted values. Let's just jump into Python real quick and take a look at double quotes and single quotes. I'm going to jump into the Python shell by typing Python 3. And let's take a look at using strings. Now I can create string that is equal to a double quoted string. I can also create a different string, string 2, using single quotes. We can print these. So you can see we printed them with a space between test string and test2 string. Now, if I need to use a single quote or a double quote within a string, I can do that by switching. So for example, let's take string and say we need to use double quotes in the string. So I'm going to start with a single quote, test using double quotes. And what I'll do is quote double quotes. And then I can close the string itself with a single quote. Now Python handled this and will allow us to use these double quotes. So if I hit enter and I print string, notice that it treats the double quotes as a string literal character, and we're able to display that to the terminal. Super powerful. Vice versa, I can use single quotes. I'm going to start with a double quote, testing using single quotes. And you can see we can use single quotes within the double quotes. I can also escape these. So if I wanted to do something like use single quotes within single quotes. So currently this will throw an error because it doesn't, here's where I close my string literal with this second single quote. But I can escape that with a backslash and still print string, and that will work just fine. Now let me remove this and show you what happens here. You can see that we get a syntax error because we have an unescaped single quote, and that actually causes an error. Concatenation lets you stitch strings together. For example, if you capture an IP during analysis, you can combine it into a log message. This method works but can get messy with multiple variables. Let's just take a look how concatenation works with the plus operator. So that's the concatenation operator when you're using strings. We can say string, we'll just say alert equals, let's assign a variable. So IP equals 192.1, we'll put that in quotes because it's going to be a string, 192.168.1.1, and then we can create a alert string equals failed login from IP colon double quote and then use concatenation. So I'm using the concatenation operator, the plus symbol, plus the IP, and then I can print the alert. So you can see it does the concatenation here. Now let's go ahead and add to this a little bit and create a username. So username equals admin. And now we can do some more concatenation. Failed login from IP. I'm going to get rid of the colon and I'll do concatenate that with another string for user and concatenate that with our username. And then we can print the alert and you can see we get failed login from IP 192.168.1.1 for user admin. You can see how this starts getting rather sloppy and very hard to manage. We'll show you a better way to do this. So what we can use is f-strings. F-strings are the preferred way to format strings in Python. They allow you to embed variables directly, making log alerts and reports much easier to read and maintain. This is especially important when you're automating security scripts where clarity matters. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at this and let's just create a format string or an F string. So what I'm going to do with string is I'm going to use the assignment. So string is, let's change this to alert. So our alert that we're creating equals, we're going to start with F. This tells Python that we're creating a F string or a format string and that we can use placeholders within that. So we have an F there, double quote, and then failed login from, and then I'm just going to use the curly braces. The curly braces tell Python, hey, this is a placeholder for a variable, and I want to use what's called string interpolation. String interpolation is taking a value from a variable and injecting it into a placeholder in a string. So let's go ahead and put our IP as the variable that we want to get the value from for, and then we need another placeholder for our username, and then we'll close that curly brace, and we need to put user here. So failed login from IP for user username. All right, that looks good. I'll go ahead and close this with a double quote, and then we can print the alert. And we get the same output, but notice that it's a little bit cleaner than doing all of this concatenation. Now, sometimes a single line isn't enough. Multi-line strings let you capture blocks of text like, for instance, an incident report or our disclaimer in SavageScan. The triple quotes preserve formatting so that you can easily generate structured messages for your SOC team or logs. So try it out. Take the SavageScan example, print the tool disclaimer with a multi-line string so that you can make the code more readable and maintainable. Of course, you should be prompting the user for an input, and then we'll use an F string to print the scan message. Up next, we'll review adding this functionality, additional functionality to Savage Scan with the concepts that we learned in Chapter 1, Section 4, and then we'll jump into number basics.